Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to Town of Grand Falls Windsor Council Meeting number 596. I'll get it out. First order of business is call the meeting to order. Next up is a proclamation. It's for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, which is September 2024. Whereas there are about 10,000 children living with cancer in Canada today, and whereas each year about 1,600 cases are diagnosed, over 25 of which are children in Newfoundland and Labrador. Whereas in Canada, childhood cancer remains responsible for more deaths from 1 year through adolescence than any other disease. And whereas about 1 in 4 children who are diagnosed with cancer will die of the disease. Whereas because of significant advances in therapy, 78% of children diagnosed with cancer will survive 5 years or more, an increase of almost 46% since the early 1960s. Whereas childhood cancers have close to 75% cure rate, with leukemia leading the success charge with close to 90% overall cure rate. Now, therefore, I, Barry Manuel, Mayor of the Town of Grand Falls, Windsor, do hereby proclaim September 2024 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the Town of Grand Falls, Windsor. Anything else, sir? Okay, first up is the adoption of the agenda. I look for a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Cody, seconded by Councillor Hiscock. Any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Okay, the adoption of the minutes from the prior meeting, which is number 595. Any errors or omissions? No errors or omissions. I'll look for a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Dwyer, seconded by Councillor Little. Any discussion on the previous meeting's minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Okay, any business arising out of the minutes? No business arising. We'll move to the disbursement report. Councillor Dwyer, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the disbursement report dated July 31st, 2024 in the amount of $1,451,954.45.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Dwyer, seconded by Deputy Mayor Brown. Any discussion on the disbursement report? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Move into committee reports. First up is Community Services. Deputy Mayor Brown, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Community Services Committee met 5 p.m. Tuesday, July 16, 2024, and those in attendance were myself as Chair, Councillor Holly Dwyer, Councillor Andrew Little, Councillor Amy Cody, Councillor Bob Hiscock, Councillor Dave Knoll, staff in attendance Nelson Chapman, Acting Chief Administrative Officer, Robin Hannaford, Communications Officer, and Todd Mercer, Director of Community Services. First order of business was correspondence from the Community Garden. The committee reviewed the correspondence from Community Garden on the need for a power source. The committee recommended that the Directors of Community Services and Public Works and Development investigate options for power and report back to the committee. IB Story Conceptual Design. The committee reviewed correspondence from IB Story on the process to follow for the construction of a major community development. The committee recommends continuing discussions on the recreation complex and use this information provided for future reference. IB Story RFP Conceptual Draft and Complex Construction. The committee reviewed the correspondence from IB Story and recommends that a separate meeting for council and staff be scheduled to discuss this. Grant match correspondence. The committee reviewed the correspondence from Grant Match, a national company used by municipalities to find grant money for projects. The committee had questions and concerns about the amount of money per project and the ability to source additional funds on our own. The committee recommended that the directors discuss the concerns with the company and report back the findings at a future Committee of the Whole meeting. It was also recommended that we ask the company for references from other municipalities of our size. Central Ice Pack correspondence. The committee reviewed the correspondence from Central Ice Pack and recommends the community services staff work with the group to finalize a schedule. Perfectly Centered Gymnastics Provincials. The committee reviewed correspondence from the club on hosting provincial competition in the coming years. The committee and the director looked at all scheduling options for the Joe O'Byrne Memorial Stadium and recommend that the town and the club look at 2027 to bid on hosting the provincial competition. STEM update. The committee reviewed the correspondence on the STEM program and was pleased with the partnership with the Y2C Centre for the summer program. Ribs and Riders update. The director gave the committee an update on the upcoming Ribs and Riders Festival scheduled for August 23rd to the 25th on Centennial Field. The director informed the committee that there will be ATV rides, food, games, flea markets, and entertainment throughout the three-day event. Tickets for the event will go on sale in the coming weeks and will be posted on the town's Facebook page. In new business, the committee had some discussion on the opening of the Joe O'Byrne Memorial Stadium. The director informed the committee that it is scheduled to open October 14th, 2024. The committee had some discussion on this year's 2024 Kelly Ford Exploits Valley Salmon Festival and all the hard work the town employees put into the event to make it another successful year. The committee recommended that the community services staff meet to discuss recommendations and changes for next year and report back to the committee at a later date. The meeting was adjourned at 6:10 p.m. and I'll move with the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Brown, seconded by Councillor Little. Any discussion on the community services minutes? No discussion. A mover and a seconder. Ask for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, Public Works and Development, we have two sets of minutes. The first, we'll ask Councillor Knoll if he would excuse us, please. And when you're ready, Councillor Coakley.
Thank you, Mayor. Public Works and Development met on Tuesday, July 16th at 6:15 p.m. In attendance, myself as the chairperson, Councillor Bob Hiscock, Deputy Mayor Mike Brown, Councillors Holly Dwyer, Andrew Little, and staff included Robin Hannaford, Communications Officer, and Nelson Chapman, Director of Public Works and Development. The committee reviewed a request from the Lionel Kelland Hospice for funding to help pave the parking lot on the front of the building. The value of the work is estimated to be near $43,000 plus HST. This request is in addition to the grants provided by the town since 2022, totaling $75,000. The committee recommends that this request be denied, as the town has contributed significantly to the hospice in recent years. The capital funding for paving is limited and needs to be kept for town infrastructure. The committee also recommends the Lionel Kelland Hospice contact the provincial government for more funding, as healthcare is a provincial responsibility. This meeting adjourned at 6:25 p.m., and I move the recommendations in the report of the committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Cody, seconded by Councillor Hiscock. Any discussion on the first set of Public Works minutes?
I'll just make a couple comments.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Cody.
Yeah, the request, we had some significant discussion in our meeting on this request. It was a little bit strange because it was the paving at the front of the building. So the back and sides of the building would have been paved, was included in, I guess, their tender. The front of the building was overlooked. So they had come to the town looking for us to complete the front part for them. You know, and while we would love to be able to do that, paving is very expensive. We know just from our own Church Road Park paving, just to repave that trail this year, we're looking at over $80,000 just to do that. So to spend $46,000 in tax to do the parking lot of the Lionel Kelland Hospice, it just is not reasonable for us to do that. We do a lot of in-kind. We've done a lot of in-kind for the Lionel Kelland Hospice, to the tune of $75,000. We appreciate everything that they do, but again, like our minutes stated, healthcare is a provincial responsibility. That is a healthcare facility providing, end-of-life care to the residents who are availing of those services. So, it would be provincial responsibility to help them with that. So that's where the recommendation or suggestion from us is for them to reach out to the provincial government to support this, not the town of Grand Falls-Windsor.
It's hard to do paving. That's not our responsibility when we got so much in the town that we'd like to do, and unfortunately only so much to go around. We got a good relationship with Lionel Kelland Hospice, and Peggy Hamilton as the director particularly has been in contact a lot with Nelson as the engineer and with Darren as the CAO. And as Councillor Cody said in her comments, we've done a lot of in-kind work in that. Again, the people who were behind the Lionel Kelland Hospice, and it took 9 years to get from, initial idea, I guess, to fruition. And they did a tremendous job. And we all know how much work they had to put in and how much fundraising they had to do and how many contributions that came in and rolled in from good citizens and people from all over the province and the region. But I can't help but wonder, again, if this is a successful facility, which it appears that it's going to be very successful, if you can call that kind of facility successful. I know that it's something that as I said at the last meeting, had an aunt who was in there for about a week or more and was, everything was exceptional, the care and everything else. So the concern I've expressed all along is that when the time comes for another hospice to be built in the province, the provincial government will likely come to the table and build it and pay for it and the operations. So I'm still a little disappointed that there is ongoing fundraising required from volunteers and the board from Lionel Kelland in order to keep that facility running from year to year. And again, we've done a lot and we will continue to support as best we can. But like Councillor Cody said, when we have so much paving and it's expensive, then it's difficult for us to do that. And I would be the first one saying proper thing to a resident who knocked on my door and said, hey, you can do that, but you can't do my street. And I'm paying taxes and they're not. So, that's definitely a relevant factor in all this. Any other discussion on the first set of minutes, Public Works? And of course, most people would know, but Councillor Noel excused himself for perceived conflict of interest because this has to do with paving and he has involvement in a paving company. All right, we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. We can ask, if you would, Councillor Hiscock, please. Okay, when you're ready, Councillor Cody, we can move into the second set of minutes.
Public Works and Development, 6:35, Tuesday, July 16th. In attendance, myself as chair, Councillor Bob Hiscock, Deputy Mayor Mike Brown, Councillor Holly Dwyer, Councillor Dave Knoll, Councillor Andrew Little, Robin Hannaford, Communications Officer, Nelson Chapman, Director of Public Works and Development. Water quality. The committee continues to keep water quality as a top priority for residents. Water testing continues in various areas of the town. Results have shown that quality remains good. However, there is still the occasional occurrence of reported discolored water. Approximately 50% of the town has had the annual flushing completed. Some of the flushing valves have arrived and staff are preparing to install them in the coming weeks. Also, the design of the new orthophosphate system is 90% completed and undergoing final review. The town will then be looking for funding to complete the work, which is estimated to be $700,000 plus HST. The committee recommends staff install the flushing valves as quickly as possible and to continue to investigate all areas of reported discolored water and complete any work necessary to address the issues as quickly as possible. The committee also recommends residents contact Public Works at 709-489-0420 if they have experienced any issues. Subdivision agreements. The committee reviewed the latest plans for 2 subdivisions planned to commence in Grand Falls-Windsor in 2024. The 2 proposed areas are the following. Reed's subdivision, location is a new proposed access at 43 Grenfell Heights, and a preliminary design identifies approximately 50 new units. Phase 1 of the development is expected later in 2024. This subdivision has been proposed by W. Reed's Construction Limited. Sprucewood Estates. This location is a newly proposed access between 334 and 336 Grenfell Heights and will access land adjacent to and behind the Golden Years Estate. This has changed since the original concept that was approved in principle earlier this year. Phase 1 of the development is expected to commence in August or September 2024. The subdivision is proposed by Jabez Holding Limited. The preliminary design identifies approximately 220 units. The committee is pleased that new housing developments will be starting soon in town and recommends approval of both plans, and that staff ensure the subdivision agreements are signed with all necessary requirements met before work commences. The committee also recommends staff reach out to residents at 334 and 336 Grenfell Heights to obtain their feedback on the access location for Spruce Woods Estates. Public consultation results. The committee discussed the following proposed amendment changes to the Town of Grand Falls-Windsor Development Regulations 2022 to 2032. A, Municipal Plan Amendment Number 8, 2024, and Development Regulations Amendment Number 12, 2024, which helps address housing needs for a wide range of residents, from students and young families to seniors. B, Municipal Plan Amendment Number 9, 2024, the Development Regulations Amendment Number 13, 2024, which would allow for the repurposing of commercial and civic buildings for housing opportunities. Furthermore, it will allow shipping containers as accessory use in a public use zone. C, Municipal Plan Amendment Number 12, 2024, and Development Regulations Amendment Number 17, 2024, which is the rezoning of a section of Main Street Extension to rural residential RR1 zone that fits the existing character of the neighborhood. A notice for all proposed changes was advertised in the local newspaper and posted to the town's social media pages, and no submissions were received. The committee recommends approval of the proposed amendments and have them submitted to the Department of Municipal and Provincial Affairs for Section 15 review. Public Works reports. The committee was updated on the Public Works report up to the end of June 2024. Some of the work completed by staff to date includes 967 square meters of asphalt patched, 470 liters of traffic paint placed, 630 square feet of topsoil and sod or seed placement, 59 new sign installations, 117 meters of concrete sidewalk curb gutter repairs, 18 water leaks repaired, 3 main break repairs, 47 plugged sewer calls, 367 meters of new water, sewer, and storm main and service installation, 20 maintenance holes and catch basin repairs, 15 buried valves exposed, 8 hydrant repairs, along with 2 new hydrant installations, and 49 curb stop repairs. The committee would like to thank staff for their continuous efforts in completing the lengthy list of projects to keep the town operational. Street signs. The committee was asked by staff to determine the next 5 or 10 approved street names for future developments. With some developments commencing soon and others soon to follow, more names will be needed. There are currently only 3 approved names left from last review. The committee recommends staff forward all requested names along with all supporting documentation to each councillor for their review, and a determination will be made at the next committee meeting on the list of names to present to council. Future development regulations, or developments, sorry. The committee was presented with more proposed development areas in town for council's approval in principle. This exercise is to have land identified for future development, and there is no, no immediate plans to commence work. This enables staff to work with potential developers and review infrastructure capacity to ensure development can be accommodated. The following proposals were reviewed. A, drawing 2024-4-PI, dated June 3rd, 2024. This is a proposal for the expansion of Grenfell Heights. B, drawing 2024-10-PI, dated June 5th, 2024. This proposal concerns the land adjacent to Lind Avenue near the old Millcrest School. C, drawing 2024-11-PI, dated June 5th, 2024. This area is near Grenfell Heights between Crawley Avenue and Arlen Drive. Excuse me again. Drawing 2024-12-PI, dated June 6, 2024. This development would assist multi-units between Tulet Drive and Ogilvy Street. Drawing 2024-15-PI, dated June 7, 2024. This is a future expansion to Reed's subdivision plan for more development behind Andrews Crescent. The committee is pleased to see numerous potential areas for growth and recommends all proposed locations be approved in principle. Our meeting adjourned at 8:05 p.m., and I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Cody, seconded by Councillor Knoll. Any discussion on the second set of Public Works minutes? Councillor Cody.
Just because I know my voice can handle it.
Yeah, trooper.
Yeah, I know, right? I was just reading on Facebook about people experiencing an extended cough. Someone called it the 100-day cough, so I'm hoping it's not 100 days that I'll be suffering with this, but it's at least 7 weeks now, so anyways. Just to talk about the development, you and I did a video talking about the Housing Accelerator Fund that the town of Grand Falls-Windsor was successful in obtaining, and the purposes and the intent for that money to be used as incentives for homeowners and developers to provide multi-unit, what we refer to as plex housing, so duplex, triplex, quadplex, multi-unit apartment buildings, people putting the garden suites or apartments in their single-family homes. So, we've done a lot of work on our policy and development regulations to ensure that this is going to be an easier process for people who want to renovate their properties to accommodate for existing or for additional dwellings, and for developers to tie into existing infrastructure and expand development areas. There's a huge need for housing here in Grand Falls-Windsor, let alone right across the province and the country, but we're concerned with Grand Falls-Windsor. And I think the last view I had on our Facebook page, we had over almost 10,000 views on that video, and many comments of people saying, what a great incentive that was. And, just that it's so important. We need places for people to live in our community. People want to downsize, from their larger homes. They want to go into smaller dwellings. We have people want to move into our community, wanted to buy family homes, so larger homes. We have young people or young professionals, single people want to come into the community who are starting jobs or pursuing education and haven't decided if they want Grand Falls-Windsor to be their permanent home. So they want somewhere that they can rent for a while until they make that decision or find permanent employment and decide that Grand Falls-Windsor is where they want to stay. So if we can't offer those housing options to individuals, then we're losing them to other communities who can't provide that. We're losing people now, people who are downsizing and want to go into a smaller apartment or condo or whatnot. Can't do that. They can't afford to maintain their large family homes. They need to downsize. There's a demand for the homes. They can sell their homes no problem because the demand is so huge, but then they have to leave town because they can only find housing options outside of Grand Falls-Windsor, and that is not what we want. We want people to be in our community, move into our community, and stay in our community, but be able to have flexibility to be able to move around. So, you know, that's a huge incentive from the federal government, and we're happy to receive that funding, and we're going to do some really good things with that. And you see from the minutes that, you know, all of the changes that we've made to our development regulations, the new development and subdivision agreements and development proposals, areas around town. You know, we're certainly pushing that ahead, and hopeful that the housing starts will come quickly and be many. So thank you.
No, absolutely, very positive news for sure, and there is a lot of activity and a lot of people looking to develop, and it's not cheap for anything these days, and it's no different when it comes to development. You got people who are in it as a business, and they want to see a profit at the end of the day. So, you know, incentives and subsidies and in-kind help that we may be able to provide, changing regulations, all those things help to make sure that we got housing, because we need all different sorts of housing, and we need that for all different sorts of people to grow our community. So, well said, Councillor Cody. Thanks for that. Any other comments on the second set of Public Works minutes? Councillor Dwyer.
Thanks, Mayor. I attended the Caliber Valentine Gold Mine open house today, and there were literally hundreds of people there. And, you know, hopefully they'll be successful in getting jobs and living in Grand Falls-Windsor. So the development is absolutely necessary.
Yeah. And Caliber have been very open with the communities and keeping the communities informed. And our understanding is that within the next year, they're going to be hiring another 200 to 300 people, direct jobs, which would be in a variety of jobs, but it'd be heavy equipment and mechanics and those sorts of things, tradespeople. So a lot of people perhaps can come home from the mainland who've been there for a while, and others that can get employment there. And, you know, we firmly believe we got a beautiful community and a good spot to live here, but if we don't have anywhere for people to live, they can't not come, and we're missing out on opportunities all the time on people who have no choice but to go elsewhere. So that's how crucial this is, and obviously, most importantly, for those who may not have housing, and there are a lot of people in this town that do not, believe me. I know of many that have nowhere to live. Okay. Any other comments on the second set of Public Works minutes? Hearing none, just a quick comment on the street names. Or, you know, it references the street names and council reviewing some street names to identify the next names. And just so that people out there know, if you may be interested in submitting a name that you feel is warranted and there's merit for that to be a new street in town, then you do so by submitting it to the Public Works Department, and they will put it in with all the submissions that we receive, or certainly you could do it through any counselor as well. But the submissions that we have are going to be looked at, and what we do, and what we did last time, is everybody had a look. We encourage people to submit whatever information they want, whatever you think that is warranted to show that this is why this person or this family deserves a street name in town, submit it. We go through them all as counselors. We will rank them ourselves as where we see most fitting. I think there are probably still 25 or 30 that we have now, and, we may have more in the near future. So there are a lot, and it's not based on when they come in, it's based on the merit of of whatever the street name proposal is, and the name in question, and the individual in many cases. So once we do that, then we give them staff. Staff will basically average out the rankings by all the counselors, and then from that, we get a list. And it's a firm list, and when a street name is required, staff can just pick the next name off the list, and that's what we've been doing, because it really takes any, it makes it easy, put it that way, that you just take the name off the list. So that's how that works, and if anybody's interested in submitting a street name proposal, they can certainly do so. Okay, last chance for a second set of public works. No? All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Okay, next up, we have corporate services. Councillor Dwyer, when you're ready, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The following are the minutes for corporate services held 5 p.m. Monday, August 12, 2024. Present were myself as chair, Councillor Dave Knoll, Councillor Amy Cody, Councillor Bob Hiscock, Councillor Andrew Little. Staff in attendance were Robin Hannaford, Communications Officer, and Steve Goss, Director of Corporate Services. Labor report. The committee reviewed the labor costs as of week 29. Total labor was $2,015,751. This was $174,165, or 8%, that should say, under budget. The committee is pleased with the labor costs overall as we continue through the busy summer season. The committee recognizes the amount of work that gets completed within our town and asks staff to continue to monitor labor costs. Disbursement report. The committee reviewed the disbursement report in the amount of $1,451,954.45 and recommends this be presented at the next council meeting. Taxation receivables analysis. The committee reviewed the taxation receivables analysis as of July 31st, 2024. The total taxes receivable at that date is $5,099,022, compared to $4,907,019 in 2023, an increase of 3.9%. Collection plans are underway for amounts in arrears. The committee continues to closely monitor the taxes receivables and encourages all residents and businesses to ensure they pay their outstanding balances as soon as possible or contact staff at the town hall to set up a payment plan. Interest continues to accrue monthly on outstanding tax balances, so please act quickly to avoid additional interest charges. Accessibility Advisory Committee minutes. The committee reviewed the Accessibility Advisory Committee minutes from their June 17th meeting. The committee is pleased with the efforts of this committee so far and the work that they have completed. The committee continues to support their initiatives and will look to include their suggestions while planning future work within the town. Group insurance update. The Director of Corporate Services, Town Clerk, provided an update from TRIO about the plan and current rates. The committee recommends staff continue to monitor the plan for possible changes and provide feedback at a future committee meeting. Project number 17-MYCW-25-00093. The committee reviewed a tender summary for paving the walking trail in Church Road Park. There was one bid in the amount of $84,932.08 net of the HST rebate. This was $6,690.37 over the initial budget. The committee recommends this decision be deferred to the next committee of the whole meeting as they require additional information about the scope of the project. The meeting adjourned at 6:45 p.m. and I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Dwyer. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Brown. Any discussion on the corporate services minutes? Councillor Dwyer.
Thanks, Mayor. Just a little bit extra about the Accessibility Advisory Committee. Very happy to announce that the kayak launch has been it's there and it's working now. People are availing of it. There was some additional work that needed to be done to get wheelchair access, but the director tells me that is almost complete, which is excellent news. We actually made a trip down there the other night, and he did a demonstration as to how it could be used. So it isn't just for seniors, or isn't just for people who have disabilities and need accessibility. Anyone can use that kayak launch, and it's excellent for seniors or anyone really. Just makes it easier to get in your kayak. So that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking forward to lots of use of that.
Yeah, for sure. And the Church Road Park paving is set to commence after Labor Day. So that's good news as well.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Councillor Dwyer. Any other comments on the corporate services minutes? No, we got a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Okay, next up is Committee of the Whole. We do have 3 sets of minutes, and if I could ask, because we do have some discussion in one for sure, if not all, but the 2 and 3, where we have to excuse councillors and myself, we can do those first.
Sure.
So I'll ask you to take the gavel, Deputy Mayor, and I will excuse myself for Committee of the Whole minutes number 2.
Okay. Okay, so we'll let the record show the mayor has left the meeting. Committee of the Whole met 7 p.m. Tuesday, August 13, 2024. Those in attendance were myself as chair, members Councillor Amy Cody, Councillor Holly Dwyer, Councillor Bob Hiscock, Councillor Andrew Little, and Councillor Dave Knoll. Staff in attendance, Darren Finn, our Chief Administrative Officer. Councillor Code of Conduct complaints. The committee discussed 2 complaints received from a citizen regarding alleged breaches of the Councillor Code of Conduct. After reviewing the detail of both complaints, the committee concluded that the issues raised did not warrant further action. The committee recommends that both complaints be dismissed by separate resolutions. The meeting adjourned at 7:30 p.m. and I'll move the recommendations and report of this committee. Can I get a seconder for that, please? Councillor Knoll, thank you very much. Any comments on with respect to the minute? Just a few there. I will comment that there was a complaint issued against the mayor with respect to some Facebook posts he had posted on his personal Facebook page, and certainly council didn't have any trouble with that. That's allowed through the councillor code of conduct, and council feels there's no further action necessary. The post had to do with the walking trail behind 2 schools, and at that time he was inundated with messages and questions with respect to that trail, and he went to answer them that night on his personal Facebook page, and that's allowed as per the councillor code of conduct. Any other comments with respect to the minute? So I get a seconder. Councillor Knowles, seconder.
Thank
you. Yeah, go ahead.
We're elected officials. We use our social media pages to promote what's happening in the town, to promote ourselves when we're running for election, to continue to promote ourselves and our activities as we want to become re-elected. So social media is often the only, not the only, but probably the most popular and the easiest for us to use to get messages out, whether it's about ourselves or about activities in the community. The official town Facebook page does promote a lot of our town activities, like our video on the Housing Accelerator Fund when we were dealing with the lockout. We used the Town of Grand Falls-Windsor Facebook page to get a lot of the messages out, because a lot of the information was not being received into the community as it should be. So when the mayor made this post, that's exactly what that was. It was to inform the public as to what was actually happening with regards to the possible changes to the walking trail behind Sprucewood Academy and Forest Park Primary. It was a weekend post. Our communications officer was not working. The mayor is quite capable of forming his own statement, which he did, which we were all informed of that he was doing because we had talked about it. We had spoken about the type of message, the type of information we wanted to get out to the public, what needed to be clarified. So the mayor put that all together, tagged council in his post. So technically, we were all on that post and agreed to that post. And then it was further shared on the official Town of Grand Falls-Windsor Facebook page. So if we're sharing information and we're limited as to how we can share that information, then the public is never going to be informed as to what is happening, how can we answer their questions. We can't put a letter in the mail. We could, but I mean, by the time it actually gets distributed to everyone in the community, it's outdated. It costs money to do that. Social media allows us to be able to address our residents free of charge on our own social media pages. It's the way of the world. Social media is how people get information out. The groups who are making these complaints have a social media page that they use to get information out to the public. We're doing the same thing. That's what it was. The mayor's post was factual, it was genuine, and it was what was expected from him as mayor to inform the public as to what were the rightful and proper information and what was happening behind the scenes in that situation. So I support the mayor in his social media post.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Cody. Any more comments with respect to the minute? Councillor Dwyer, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And I would concur with Councillor Cody. Absolutely, we are elected officials. People expect us to voice our concerns, our opinions, to help educate the public so that they can also form opinions and become aware of things. And there was no violation of any policy. And I hope that people understand that. Just last week, I made a Facebook post about healthcare and a call that I had made to Open Line. And, you know, if it was the same intention, just to inform people of what the issue is and to clarify any misconceptions that are out there. I expect that that's what people expect of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dwyer. Any more comments? Councillor Little, please.
Deputy Mayor, just one other thing. I think I believe Councillor Cody mentioned in one of our meetings too about there was a legal representation at one of your municipalities meetings that said no, like councillors and public officials are allowed to use. I think that came up, like that was the legal. Oh, sorry, Councillor Dwyer. That was the legal standpoint of the issue, was that councillors and elected officials are and are encouraged to get their views out on different subjects. So I thought it was pertinent to say that.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Dole. Anybody else? Okay, all in favour of the motion? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. So I'm going to read a resolution now, two resolutions with respect to that Code of Conduct complaint. GFW 2024-396 resolution, dismissal of Code of Conduct complaint against a respondent. Whereas a complaint was filed by the complainant on June 28, 2024, alleging a respondent breached the town's councillor code of conduct policy C19 by making a post on Facebook about a town issue on May 11, 2024, and whereas the complaint was investigated, including a review of related policies, and whereas the investigation found that action of the respondent was in accordance with the town policy, therefore be it resolved that the Council of Grand Falls-Windsor dismisses complaint against the respondent as unfounded and concludes that no further action will be taken in this matter. And I propose the resolution. Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Hiscock, thank you. Any comments on the resolution? Being none, all in favour? Aye. Any opposed? Motion's carried. GFW 2024-397 resolution, dismissal of code of conduct complaint against the respondent. Whereas a complaint was filed by the complainant on July 15, 2024, alleging a respondent breached the town's councillor code of conduct policy, C19, by speaking in public about their May 11th and 12th, 2024 post on Facebook, and the respondent pointed out that the other members of council are free to do the same. And whereas the complaint was investigating, including a review of related policies, and whereas the investigation found that the action of the respondent was in accordance with town policy, therefore be it resolved that the Council of Grand Falls-Windsor dismisses the complaint against the respondent as unfounded and concludes that no further action will be taken in this matter. And I propose this resolution. Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Knoll, thank you. Any discussion on the resolution? All in favour? Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carried. So we can ask the mayor to re-enter the chambers.
Okay, moving along. Next up, we've got committee of the whole minutes, and I'll ask Councillor Dwyer if you would excuse us, please. Okay, when you're ready, Deputy Mayor Brown.
Minutes of the Committee of the Whole, 7:35 p.m. Tuesday, August 13th, 2024. Those in attendance were myself as chair, Councillor Amy Cody, Councillor Bob Hiscock, Councillor Andrew Little, and Councillor Dave Knoll. Staff in attendance were Darren Finn, our Chief Administrative Officer. Councillor Code of Conduct complaint. The committee discussed a complaint received from a citizen concerning an alleged breach of the Councillor Code of Conduct by a member of Council. After reviewing the details of the complaint, the committee concluded that the complaint did not warrant further action. The committee recommends that the complaint be dismissed by a resolution of Council. The meeting adjourned at 7:45 p.m. and I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Brown, seconded by Councillor Little. Any discussion on the second set of committee of the whole minutes? Hearing none, I got a few comments as well, so I'll let Councillor Cody go first.
Thank you.
She's ready.
I got to scratch my head because sometimes you just got to scratch your head. This is frustrating. It's frustrating to have to deal with a complaint like this over something so foolish. And I look at that policy when that policy was in place, the time that policy was formed, you know, what that policy was for. I look at today and I think about Councillor Dwyer wearing her hat, which has been her trademark forever. She's always worn her hat. I think about if that policy was enforced, what other issues would that bring to council and how would it make other people feel if they were in these council chambers. You have all types of head coverings, and for all different types of reasons. You could have someone who was suffering with cancer, who probably lost hair through chemotherapy treatments, who may be self-conscious over their image, who would want to wear a head covering, a scarf. You have people of different religious backgrounds who wear turbans or hijabs or any other type of religious head covering like that. People suffering from alopecia probably who, want to, kind of cover, some of their hair loss issues. And it's about personality as well. I mean, the hats that, Councillor Dwyer especially is wearing doesn't have any symbols on it. It doesn't have any logos. It's her regular trademark salt and pepper type hat. And nobody else has ever had anything to say about it. As a matter of fact, most I hear is when she doesn't wear it, they ask me, why didn't she have it on? And I didn't recognize her without her hat on. It's about personalities. It's about your freedom of expression. We're all individuals. And I look at how we're trying to attract people to run for municipal council. It's becoming increasingly more difficult to attract people to put themselves forward, whether it's for municipal council, provincial or federal politics, because of frivolous complaints that happen like this, online bullying, just really trying to dig at people, minimalize their self-worth, and it's not right. And we need people to come forward. We need people to put their names out here to run for council. If you don't like who's here for council, well then if you're doing everything in your power to keep people from putting their names on a ballot, well, you're going to be kept with the same people all the time, because we're going to be the only ones who will continue to put our names forward. And sometimes we just get fed up with it and say we're not going to run again either, so it's difficult. I think we need to be supportive of each other. We need to encourage people. If someone is doing something wrong or acting inappropriately, we'll let them know. We're certainly not going to allow people to conduct themselves in chambers that is not reflective of how they should conduct themselves in chambers. And it's not just in chambers, it's in the public. Anywhere we're representing our community and representing council, we're expected to dress a certain way, behave a certain way, and we all do that. We all act respectfully, we all dress respectfully, and a hat in chambers certainly does not deter Councillor Dwyer from doing her work. It certainly doesn't distract the rest of us from doing our work. And, it's just, at this point, it's more of harassment towards Councillor Dwyer than it is, saying that she may be dressed against policy that no longer exists.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Cody. I didn't know who was going to make comments or if anybody would make comments on these things. And Councillor Cody, I apologize if I repeat some things. I'll try not to. But I did jot down some notes because I wanted to make sure I, said what I want to say. So bear with me. I am going to file an official letter with the town, and I'll send to this group as well so that they can have a copy of it. First thing I want to say is that, residents need to know that we acknowledge that this system is in place for a purpose. The code of conduct, any guidelines for councillors, and we take them serious, and we will take any complaint serious, as we should. As Councillor Cody said, this is a policy, and I believe it's 60 years old, since the town was first incorporated back in the 60s, at a time when ladies were okay, they could wear hats. and men were discouraged from wearing hats. And it was only men at that time that served on councils. That's how old this policy is. And really, it's archaic and something that we should have changed previously. But what people also need to know is that this is the second complaint about Councillor Dwyer wearing a hat in this chamber, which, as Councillor Cody says, I shake my head. But unlike Councillor Cody, I mean, I will say that there's nothing that's going to bother me that anybody does or says. I'm way past that. But when I see the waste of time of our staff to investigate these complaints and respond as per legislation, and to compile a report for council, and to draft a resolution, and a staff who have to deal with information requests and questions, and all the printing and copying and compiling of reports, and the time, the valuable time that is taken up. Because, you know, these code of conduct complaints, of course, from this group are just a touch of what has been presented, or the actions that the group has taken over the past few years. And our staff, like our CAO, had to do an investigation on this. This is our highest paid employee in the organization. Mr. Goss is there. He's involved. He has to be involved in this. We've got multiple staff taking hours and hours. I would say now we're at hundreds of hours that our staff has had to do, you know, based on concerns from the group that refers to itself as concerned citizens. And I find it very ironic that when we're being accused at times of being wasteful and not being good with taxpayers' dollars, that they are wasting taxpayers' dollars hand over fist with the time our employees have had to put into this. And I'm not sure if they know it or not, but if they do know it, it's worse. So, you know, to me, this is a pattern of actions from this group, and we've seen this continuously, and it's time that we address it. And unfortunately, we're talking about this now. I don't think we should be, because, again, we got more important things to deal with. But the group has been focused on more divisiveness than any concern for town issues. And council's work has always been to focus on the work of the town. And we're not perfect, obviously, and nor is anybody that sits in these seats. But we're elected to do the best we can do. And, you know, when it comes to Councillor Dwyer, I mean, I've known Councillor Dwyer my entire life. People who know Councillor Dwyer will tell you that she's a person of good character, that she is extremely kind. There's many stories of Councillor Dwyer making soup for someone because they seen a comment on Facebook about a loved one was sick regardless if she knew him or not. You know, bringing dinner to people in the seniors' homes, making quilts for people, tending to older people. And it goes on without any fanfare. You know, Councillor Dwyer genuinely wants to make a difference in this town. And she's been doing her best. And as we know, I mean, the healthcare issue alone, Councillor Dwyer has put countless hours into the healthcare issue to try to bring about change so that we can have better healthcare in our community. So I'm not sure how a hat in Chambers is going to impact that. And as Councillor Cody said, you know, Holly's hat is her trademark. When she ran for council, it was in her caricature. People recognize it, and I would expect if we did a poll of residents of whether or not they're concerned if Councillor Dwyer is going to wear a hat in chamber or not, that there would be very, very few, maybe some here tonight, who would have a problem with it. But others would not. I just think it's a targeted attack, you know, and to me, it just comes from vindictiveness, and it's very unfortunate because, you know, we need positivity in our town. We really do. And I talked about the waste of resources, and I know, you know, that there's complaints about myself as well, and I will address them, but I'm not going to do that tonight. I'll talk about Councillor Dwyer and the hat issue. But I know that this stems from the labor dispute. My thinking, I believe I'm right, and I'm certainly entitled to saying that. The labor dispute ended 3 years ago. And the last thing I want to talk about now is the labor dispute, because the town, at the time, and the employees, you know, we took time to meet with all the groups of employees right away to say, let's put it behind us. Let's be positive. Let's all do what we should do, which is work on behalf of the town and do our best. And there's respect and understanding. There has to be. You know, as unionized employees, our workforce has every right to do what they did. And I respect what they did. They're fighting for their union. They're fighting for their livelihood. They have certain positions on issues, and at that time it was contract issues that, you know, I didn't necessarily agree on all, but I understand that that's their right and that's their job to do that. Same as we got a job to do. You know, we're elected to be trying to do the best for the town. And in that situation, we did what we felt was best for the town overall. And I would hope and I believe that the vast majority of our employees, if not all, however, I'm not sure, that they would say they respect that. They know we had a job to do. It's nothing personal. We just try to make decisions that are in the best interest of the town. And to move forward in a positive way, and it seems that some people are just clinging to past grievances. And this is 3 years later, so I think really there's positivity that could be brought into this. And, you know, we've been working on real issues. And the CCC has been in existence for 3 years. And I want to know where they're to on the real issues. Where are they to on the healthcare situation? Why don't they lobby for more government money so that we can get infrastructure for roads and pavement and water and sewer? Why don't they lobby for more policing, facilities, resources for poverty reduction, healthy living, housing, mental health resources? You know, we talked about housing here tonight, but the fact is they never engage on any of these critical issues. In 3 years, I haven't heard anything about any of those issues that are of great importance to the town and concern to our town, and a real concern to our town and the residents. I don't hear a word. And nor do I see the group contribute to the efforts to make Grand Falls-Windsor a better place to live. I know initially when the group formed and we got some correspondence, I had offered, by responding to an email, to meet with the group to discuss their concerns. And I got an email back saying that they would decline my offer at this time. There's a Facebook page which the group has, which I've never seen, to be honest with you. I've seen screenshots at times. But we give all this information out that our staff is doing so much work to get out, and I don't believe it's being shared with the residents that the group represents. So that doesn't add up to me. So instead of helping out, and lobbying, staging protests, things that can bring attention to these important issues, instead, they want to spread negativity, try to discredit myself, try to discredit council, try to discredit Councillor Dwyer, the town, and they refuse to acknowledge any positive accomplishments that have been achieved. And there are many. And what I will do, because I know I've gone on a bit, but, the real issues that matter, and they affect everyone in the town, and yet they choose to ignore them while presenting themselves as concerned citizens and show little to no interest in matters that truly are important to our residents. Lately, it's been gymnastics. We got a gymnastics program, and I know that we started the program 7 years ago because of expressed need in the community for a program for the kids. And we had tough time finding permanent space. We had an old dilapidated building. Mr. Mercer is here. He knows all about it. He was directly involved and still is. And we ended up having them in the stadium for a while. Because of COVID, we were able to do that. We looked at, I don't know how many spaces in town, everywhere that there was a possible gymnast who can jump or do a tumble or whatever they needed to do. We looked at it, and we ended up renting a facility on a building on Hardy Avenue, which we recently purchased, as was in the minutes. And, and again, the CCC were focused on the rent that was being paid for the building and asking questions to residents like, do you know that the town is spending $14,000 a month on rent for gymnastics? And they chose to ignore any of the registration revenue that comes in that offsets significantly those expenses, when in reality the cost to the town a month is probably more like $3,000, which is a good investment when you've got 500, almost 500 registered now in the gymnastics program. And we got a home for them, and they're happy, but no positivity. I'm going to do something that I don't normally do, which is I want to read the letter of complaint. I got it here somewhere, because I want the citizens to hear about the concern about the Councillor Dwyer wearing a hat. If I can get it. Okay, the letter is dated June 28th of this year to Mr. Finn. It is with great concern that I feel compelled to write this letter to you regarding the actions of Councillor Holly Dwyer by wearing a hat in council chambers. I attended Public Council Meeting 5 number 1 on April 16th and was dismayed to observe Councillor Dwyer once again wearing a cap in council chambers. I politely asked Councillor Dwyer to remove her cap, and her response to me was, and I quote, "I don't have to." I found her action and response very disrespectful, given her position of councillor, and even more so, her lack of respect to the sanctity and culture of council chambers. I was aware that this current council rescinded policy C8, use of council chambers, on June 20th, 2023, shortly after policy C19, councillor code of conduct, was approved and adopted. But I was completely aghast that Councillor Dwyer would prove inappropriate in council chambers by returning to her old habit of wearing a hat. Just so we are clear, the statement that Councillor Dwyer was deceptive in council's chambers is not an accusation but a statement of fact. Evidence to support that statement is provided by the town's own public documents. Of particular note are the minutes to Public Council Meeting 551 held on November 16, 2021. During meeting 551, the following correspondence from a citizen was read. The committee recognizes having received correspondence from a citizen who expressed concern about violations with policy C8, use of council chambers, with specific reference to the provision, in quotes, hats are not to be worn in council chambers. It's all right. The committee is aware of the policy and notes that no further action is required. In response to correspondence from a citizen, Councillor Dwyer stated the following. And lastly, it was mentioned in the Committee of the Whole minutes that we received correspondence referring to a policy that has no hats to be worn in the council chambers. She realized that it was referring to her, and she sincerely apologizes, as she meant no disrespect and will not wear a hat again. When council voted unanimously to rescind policy C8, they gave their permission to Councillor Dwyer to return to her disrespectful habit of wearing a hat in council chambers, and in doing so, removed the dignity and honor to ensure appropriate decorum and atmosphere that should be observed in council chambers. In my opinion, that makes every member of council just as complicit in a culture of renewed disrespect to a tradition of appropriate dress for all councillors when in chambers. Policy C19, Councillor Code of Conduct, does not clearly state that hats should not be worn in council chambers, but by admission, her own words clearly prove she was aware citizens found wearing a hat in chambers was disrespectful, and she sincerely apologized and would not wear a hat again. Was Councillor Dwyer's apology disingenuous because it violated policy or because she meant no disrespect? Rhetorically, we know the answer because at meetings 591 and 592, Councillor Dwyer wore her hat in council chambers. Would Councillor Dwyer, upon entering the Royal Canadian Legion or any other organization or building that deserves respect, voluntarily remove her hat? Other than Councillor Dwyer, I have never witnessed a member of council during a public meeting abuse their position to disrespect decorum and tradition with chambers. Out of respect for the position she holds as councillor, she should remove her hat and, once again, provide a public apology to all the citizens who find her actions disrespectful and her behavior undignified of an elected official. Since an apology from Councillor Dwyer has proven to be less than sincere in the past, I recommend a sincere apology that includes a resignation from the position as an elected official and as a member of the council of the town of Grand Falls-Windsor. If Ms. Dwyer refuses to voluntarily resign from her position, we formally request Holly Dwyer be dismissed from her role as councillor. It is apparent from the actions of Councillor Dwyer, including clear violations to policy C19, that Councillor Code of Conduct, she does not have the qualities required of an elected official placed in a position of trust. Integrity is acting ethically when there are no policies to guide you. It is doing the right thing even though you don't have to. In addition, I respectfully request that the rescinded policy, C8, use of council chambers, be rescinded, or be reinstated rather, to ensure the sanctity of council chambers for future generations. We all should endeavor to observe and carry on tradition. By reinstating the policy, there will be hope that council chambers will be given the respect it rightfully deserves. Policy C8 could then be referenced in policy C19 as an accompanying policy. To ensure you receive this letter, please forward a brief email and confirm a receipt. If you had any questions, require anything further, or if any errors were made in the submission, we request the opportunity to make necessary changes and to provide additional information before a decision is rendered. And you may contact me by. And I won't say the names, but they are people who are involved with the committee. And And this is for Councillor Dwyer wearing a hat in this room, which is something that should be respected. And respect also goes into respect for each other as humans, not just the decorum of dress. And whether people believe it or not, whether they accept it or not, you know, we are all deeply and genuinely in love with this town, or we wouldn't be here. We all want to try to make a difference. And it's, I'll finish now because I know I've gone on and I do have more. But in closing, I just want to make a couple of comments to end, and I do want to refer again to a couple of notes here. So I got a few questions for the CCC. Again, I want to know where you are on the real issues. Why aren't you addressing the concerns that truly matter? As residents who have lived here all or most of your life, why are you now, for the past 3 years and following the labor dispute, suddenly becoming concerned? Why not consider stepping up to be part of the solution? I ask that everyone, including CCC, focus on what's best for Grand Falls-Windsor. As council, we are committed to fairness and the town's overall well-being. So I encourage you all to engage in constructive dialogue and focus on building up the community rather than tearing it down. And that's all I'll say on the matter, which is a lot, I know. Not right now, I'm sorry. No. I can talk to you at another time, but right now, we don't have participation from the gallery.
Mayor,
Okay? Yes, Councillor
I'd
Cody.
just like to address that comment. Transparency and accountability from a group on social media that you have to request to be a member of and have to be accepted by the administrator of the group. I don't know how much transparency and accountability is available in that. How many people have not been accepted to that group?
Thank you. Okay. I'll ask that we get the noise from the back to be brought down so we can respect the council chamber. We can have a chat after, as I said. Anybody, I'm willing to talk to everybody or anybody all the time. Okay, so I don't know if there's any more comments on what is the second set of minutes. So Deputy Mayor Brown.
Part of the problem with all this involves the code of conduct that was designed by the provincial government. We get complaints. It's not really a complaint. Councillor Wire didn't break any rules. C8 was rescinded. She's permitted to wear a hat in the chambers. But because of the councillor code of conduct, we got to deal with the complaint anyway. The complaint had no basis whatsoever. And I think we should contact the provincial government and go through the councillor code of conduct again, because there's some stuff in there that's just totally unacceptable. For example, Councillor Knoll, somebody might not like him, or Councillor Little, or Councillor Hiscock, and file a complaint with him that's not justified, and it's not in violation of the councillor code of conduct, but it still has to go through these chambers. So there's an issue with the councillor code of conduct along with everything else. Councillor Dwyer is allowed to wear her hat in the chambers if she so desires. But still, we had to go through all of this, even though the complaint can't be justified because it's not, she didn't break any policies. So we should follow up with the provincial government, ask them to have a look at the councillor code of conduct to make the necessary changes. because all the advantages, of course, are with the public. The councillors and the mayor are at a disadvantage. Someone could make up a complaint, totally untrue, and it's still got to go through these chambers like we did tonight. I think that's ridiculous, and I think it needs to be addressed. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, Deputy Mayor, thank you. Okay, last chance for any comments on the second set of committee of the whole minutes. Hearing none, we're going to move her in a seconder. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Can someone please retrieve? Oh, sorry, the resolution, okay. So I assume that, Deputy Mayor, you'll read the resolution when you're ready?
GFW 2024-398 resolution, dismissal of code of conduct complaint against the respondent. Whereas a complaint was filed by the complainant on June 28, 2024, alleging a respondent breached the town councillor's code of conduct policy C19 by wearing a hat during a council meeting on April 16, 2024. And whereas the complaint was investigated, including a review of related policies, and whereas the investigation found that action of the respondent was in accordance with town policy, therefore be resolved that the Council of Grand Falls-Windsor dismisses the complaint against the respondent as unfounded and concludes that no further action shall be taken in this matter. And I propose the resolution, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, it's been proposed by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Little. Any discussion on the proposed resolution? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Resolution passed. Okay, now if someone could retrieve Councillor Dwyer, please. Okay, so now, Deputy Mayor, if you would, you go into Committee of the Whole minutes number 3. There's another set of
There is.
minutes.
You're right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Committee of the Whole met 5 p.m. Tuesday, August 13, 2024. Those in attendance were myself as Chair, Mayor Barry Manuel, Councillor Amy Cody, Councillor Holly Dwyer, Councillor Bob Hiscock, Councillor Andrew Little, and Councillor Dave Knoll. Staff in attendance, Darren Finn, our Chief Administrative Officer, Nelson Chapman, Director of Public Works and Development, Steve Goss, Director of Corporate Services, Todd Mercer, Director of Community Services, and Robin Hannaford, our Communications Officer. First order of business was correspondence from Main Street residents. The committee discussed a petition received from Main Street residents expressing concerns about excessive ATV, dirt bike, and vehicle activity behind their homes, particularly near Kent Building Supplies and the recycling depot. Residents report issues with noise from revving engines and screeching tires at all hours, raising safety concerns. The committee recommends that staff undertake measures to address these concerns, including barricading areas, increased enforcement, and report back to Council at a future date. Additionally, the committee recommends investigating options for potential development in this area to alleviate some of the nuisance. Correspondence from Hill Road Manor. Correspondence was received from Hill Road Manor owners regarding discolored water affecting their business, especially laundry services. The committee acknowledged the necessity of the flushing program for municipal water maintenance, but recommended that staff visit Hill Road Manor to investigate the issue further. Staff should ensure that there are not underlying problems with the water distribution system beyond the impacts of the flushing program. Church Road Park tender. The director reviewed the paving plans for Church Road Park and presented the tender summary. The committee recommends awarding the tender to Penny Paving in the amount of $81,441.50 plus HST. Gorge Park boat launch. The committee discussed the recent installation of a floating dock at Gorge Park to improve accessibility for kayakers on the Exploits River. Concerns were raised by citizens about potential interference with their boating activities in the same area. The committee recommends that staff remain engaged with all users to find an amicable solution. The floating dock setup is temporary while awaiting the installation of a longer ramp and additional work required for better access to the wharf area. Scott Avenue crosswalk. The committee received a request from a resident suggesting the installation of a crosswalk on Scott Avenue to provide better access to Valley Road. The committee recommends that staff investigate the feasibility of installing a sidewalk in this location to improve pedestrian safety and connectivity. Flashing stop signs. Correspondence from a citizen concerned about the introduction of stop signs with flashing lights at 2 locations was reviewed. The concern was related to the impact of flashing lights on individuals with epilepsy. The committee discussed these flashing stop signs were introduced in areas where a history of accidents or near misses to enhance visibility. The committee hopes that these signs will reduce traffic incidents through other solutions like traffic lights or roundabouts may be considered in the future if needed, despite being more costly. Garden party correspondence. The committee discussed the concept of extending an invitation to the Lieutenant Governor for a garden party next summer, 2025. The committee recommends writing a letter to the Lieutenant Governor to explore the possibility of coordinating a garden party at Grand Falls House. Correspondence from 336 Grenfell Heights. The committee reviewed concerns from homeowners at 336 Grenfell Heights regarding a proposal to develop an access road adjacent to their property. The homeowners expressed concerns that the road's proximity would negatively impact their enjoyment of the property. The committee acknowledges these concerns and wants staff to work diligently with the developer to mitigate their concerns. The committee does also recognize the importance of housing development, so recommends that the Chief Administrative Officer may authorize the start of this road construction once satisfied that sufficient mitigating plans are agreed upon with the developer. Request from minor hockey. The committee discussed a request from minor hockey for assistance with purchasing an ice divider system for younger players. The system will cost approximately $11,000, and the league seeks to share this expense equally with the town. The committee recommends approving the town's share of $5,500 with the understanding that minor hockey will also apply for a provincial grant to potentially reduce their overall costs for both parties. Land on Main Street. The committee discussed the possibility of donating 1 block of land on Main Street West to Habitat for Humanity or another social enterprise group. The committee recommends that staff work with Habitat for Humanity or a similar organization to offer this block of land for housing purposes. The meeting adjourned at 7 p.m. and I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Brown, seconded by Councillor Little. Any discussion on the third set of committee of the whole minutes? Councillor Hiscock.
Thank you, Mayor. I was going to bring it up under other business, but see it's in the meeting, in the minutes here now. With regards to the dirt bikes, we are inundated with complaints, Mr. Mayor, as you know, and our CAO, from every neighborhood within the town. No one's exempt from this. I'd just like to let the residents know that we are working our MEOs, our CAO, in conjunction with the RCMP to mitigate this. I asked the parents, the parents are giving these bikes to these kids. These kids got to be 16 years old to operate those bikes. Those bikes had to be licensed, they have lights, tail lights, headlights, signal lights. They don't have any of that. The kids are ripping up and down the streets all hours, night and day. This has to stop. This has to stop. There's absolutely no need of this. Some parents are giving these bikes as a babysitter. Something is going to happen, unfortunately. We got to stop this before it's too late, Mr. Mayor. You know, people are coming after us, and the residents are at their wits' end. You know, this town is an ATV-friendly town with regards of ecotourism, venture tourism, to bring people in. I seen yesterday, I think it was 12 or 15, and one big group came from Nova Scotia. They were at the Robin Hood Inn, and they loved it. They couldn't believe it. This is what this is for. Now, these kids, we want these kids to have fun too, but you must be respectful. You must obey the rules. These kids cannot, and I'll repeat to the parents, these kids cannot be doing what they're doing. So we've got to take the initiative now that we're going to be either confiscating these bikes, finding the parents. We're going to work within our legal rights to do what we can to alleviate this problem within our community. So we ask the parents to please take the initiative, stop this. If not, we are going to take care of this, Mr. Mayor. Enough's enough. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's a huge issue, and we've said it, I mean, anybody who's followed council meetings over the years, I've talked about this many, many times. It's worse than ever, you know. And of course, it's not, even though there are a lot of kids underage, there's not just kids. There's a lot of adults as well that are also roaring around town on unlicensed vehicles and dirt bikes, and even some people seems like using them for transportation within town. You know, I don't want to get into all the trouble and everything that it is for us to try to enforce this, but there are some things that make it very difficult and have. And I've said in the last 2 election campaigns, I know I said to residents clearly that the most frustrating issue that I've had in my time on council is the ATV issue, because it's so difficult to resolve. It's the RCMP's responsibility from a Highway Traffic Act and a criminal offense point of view. Even though we want our MEOs to go out and try to enforce these issues, and they do their best, the ones that don't want to stop, don't stop. Many of these vehicles don't have plates. We talked about the province in a few scenarios tonight, and you could lump into loud vehicles around town with this issue as well. That's becoming an issue. The province has the ability to change legislation around dirt bikes and ATVs because they can make sure that the legislation is stronger, that it gives municipalities all across the province, because we're not alone in this, the teeth to be able to deal with this. And as you said, well, we're going to do everything we can within our legal ability to address this. We are very hopeful, and I keep saying this, I know, but we're very hopeful that we'll have some good news soon on the Abitibi property, which should allow some reduction of the trouble that people are having, particularly in the areas of Lincoln Road and Carmelite and Riverview and those places that just, if anybody wants to go down there on any day, and we all have, it's just constant, you know, and they don't have any other access across the river. And there are a lot of people in town that are law-abiding, they got their insurance, they got their registration, they got their bike, they want to get to point A to point B. Those are not people we want to give tickets to. You know, we want to give tickets, and the RCMP to give tickets to people who are not following the rules. But it is difficult. It is. But if anybody knows of anybody in particular, young person, old person, whatever, if you know that someone is doing this regularly, you know their name, their address, tell us. That's very helpful, particularly when it comes to young people, because we will have our MEOs visit the parents and talk to them and ask for cooperation from the parents. But many times, you know, there's covered shaded face shields, and they got camouflage or all different colors on, no plates on the vehicle, and we've had them doing wheelies in front of the MEO vehicle in the middle of the street, just teasing. And the phones, I mean, they know when you're coming and going. We recognize it as a huge issue, as you said, again, quite well, but it's very, very difficult to solve, and I think we need to get after the province, not only council, but the residents as well, to tell them we want stronger legislation, and I'm expecting that sooner or later they're going to do something. Every other week you're hearing of someone getting killed or seriously injured on a dirt bike or ATV or side-by-side. I mean, it's unbelievable that someone would allow it, or sometimes 12, 13-year-old. And it's something that's going on, and it's something that we definitely want to stop. And we ask that people understand this predicament that we're in, and we will try to do our very best. And we want anybody with ideas of how we can resolve this or mitigate it to come forward, because we're always willing to listen.
Mayor, if I could just comment.
Yes, absolutely.
Because at council's request, I did meet with the municipal police chief and RCMP, and they are going to put a concerted effort into pursuing this, and they have been actually over the past number of weeks. We've had a number of ATVs, dirt bikes and side-by-sides confiscated, tickets are issued, vehicles, and I'm personally seeing dirt bikes wheeling side-by-side in multiple locations, and I'm not driving everywhere. So I recognize a lot of it is going on. The RCMP recognize it, and so do we as our municipal police recognize it. So we're putting a concerted effort in. We will take your bikes. If we catch you, we're not going to pursue you, but if we find you, when we find you, we will get that, we'll take your vehicle on you. And so we're working at that. And we do need witnesses. People need to come forward. We have people that are willing to, that do call us and may not know, just other than their experience, the complaint, but others call us and they're not willing to tell us the name, which is useless. You got to be a participant in the problem, and you got to tell us if you know the individual or where they live. At least then we can monitor the property in our patrols in terms of where the dirt bikes or ATVs may be returning, and then we can deal with the parents which that are giving out these bikes and ATVs which are being used recklessly, and we get complaints. I would say also we get complaints saying, you know, if council don't do something to fix this, then when someone gets hurt, it's going to be on council. It's going to be on your head. And I would suggest that that's foolish to think that it is, because we can only do what we do. We're not chasing them because we don't want them to get in an accident in their flight away from us and hurt themselves. But when we find you, if we can do it safely, we will. You know, it's going to be an expensive venture. You're going to get ticketing. You get ticketing for not having registered vehicles, for not having insurance, for not being of age. We'll tow your vehicle. You got to pay a tow bill, and if we store it, you're going to pay the storage on a daily rate. So it can get into the thousands of dollars. And so, if parents want to avoid these expenses, they need to recognize, figure out if your child is possibly one of these people that are running around town, because this is your chance to avoid it. Because we will find everybody. We've found a lot over the past few weeks.
Yeah, and it's good to hear that, and I'd suggest that maybe some social media around the message that you're giving,
Yeah.
for people to come forward and to let them know that, we're hoping that something is going to be done about it. You got something, Councillor Noel? Go ahead, sir.
I was going to say it for other business as well. Since our round of discussion, we had a text come through today with a few names, because I've been inundated as well, and I grew up on dirt. I'm all too familiar with trying to get out of town to enjoy the dirt bike, but it seems like since we've kind of accepted some routes as being ATV friendly, the youngest of the riders have seemed to taken over the roads and have zero respect for, everybody, and common sense is tossed out the window. I almost killed a kid last week. I don't know who it was or what they were driving. I could hear them. It was almost dark coming down Gravel Heights, and just as I was about to turn in my driveway, something went past me. I know it was a dirt bike, two-stroke, whiny little two-stroke engine, but the person had no headlights on and camouflage dark clothing, and I know they went by, and it was only for me to take a second, and that child would have been a hood ornament on my pickup, quite likely dead. And mowing the lawn the other night, I could hear them coming up and down the road, so I decided to get out, and there's two young guys on a couple blue and white Yamaha two-strokes. So I put some feelers out through channels that I had at the high school and otherwise, and I got a couple names coming through a text today, and I'll pass those on after the meeting, and we'll work on that. But, it's about a respect thing and a common sense thing and parental responsibility, because another student of mine has recently had an accident and is talking to the student's dad, and the dad knows he's in for it legally, financially, because the child was not of age to drive the particular vehicle, and another student was in with them, and they were injured. So whether or not lawsuits come into play, whatever the case is. But I can only ask the moms and dads, the parents, the guardians, whoever's decided to let these kids out, know where your child is, and ask them where they've been. Because, they're up and down Greville Heights, and they're up and down every other street in town. Not just the stretch, not Main Street, but they're all over. We're just, doing a bit of work on Kelly Ford, doing a bit of work there. And these guys are going back and forth with female passengers and no helmets, wheeling up and down the road. I'm all too familiar with, attending a funeral for bikers and been there. We really don't want, any mom and dad to have to do that. So I, as a former enthusiast dirt bike rider, ask those people who are enjoying them to police it themselves, because we can't be everywhere. We don't have the MEOs, and the RCB don't have the capacity to. But if the riders themselves don't turn these few reckless individuals in, or talk to them and convince them not to do what they do, well, then we have no choice but to bring down a heavy hand, and then they're all going to be impacted by the police MEO presence. Not that that's a bad thing, but the riders themselves, they know who's up and down the roads doing the wheelies all hours of the night. And so, again, the parental thing, where's your child at midnight going on Greville Heights doing wheelies? That's a different issue. But we ask that the riders themselves, act accountably and encourage those people who are driving recklessly to stop that idiotic behavior before somebody gets killed. I don't want someone pulling out of their driveway in Greville Heights to kill a kid, because they're going up there flat out. Whatever that throttle can suffer, that's what they're doing down Greville Heights. And the lights. The common sense has gone out the window. Somebody's going to get killed sooner or later, as Councillor Hiscock alluded to. It's only a matter of time. You roll that dice off enough, your number's going to come up, and we don't want that to happen. And, as a 15-year-old, we're all invincible at that age. It's not going to happen to me. But it does happen. It just happened to another student of mine a couple of weeks ago. So I asked the parents to smarten up, find out where your child is, take the bike if you got to, but keep them alive, because we don't want another funeral. Thanks, Mayor.
Absolutely. No, just to recount one quick incident that I found very shocking. I was going to send it at the time, but something else came up. I can't remember. But I was at a ball tournament down on Goodyear Avenue there week before last, and there was, some 15 or 20 teams in town. Kids were all around 12 years old, I think, 11, 12 years old, and they were from all over the province. And, of course, we got that nice parking lot there that's next to the playground that a lot of the people use when they're using the ball fields. And after the game was over, so everybody was leaving the facility for the most part, including myself, and I was coming out to go to my vehicle, and I just was at the entrance to the parking lot from the ball field, we'll say, on the old little piece in front of the gate there, and I could see the parking lot was humming with activity. There's people opening their hoods. There's kids walking around cars. There's brothers and sisters going around. And all of a sudden, they started. 5, one after the other, came up from the gate, past me, into that parking lot, and weaving in and out of the lanes there and that. 5. And they were probably the oldest, I would say, is 14. Just guessing. And it's a miracle they didn't hit someone or hit a door that's open or something like that. So it is serious, and we encourage people to help us, as was said, and we certainly don't want anybody being hurt, as Councillor Knoll said. Any other discussion on that issue particularly? Okay, we can move on from that, and you do have something on another issue, Deputy Mayor.
With respect to the petition received from residents of Main Street West, myself and the Mayor met with some residents from that area, both here and on site. The town has made some improvements out there to help alleviate the quads, to ATVs and dirt bikes that cause those Main Street residents a lot of sleepless nights. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And we will continue to, I would say, to our CAO to make adjustments to that lane behind Main Street West near Kent's Building Supplies to to try and give the people of Main Street West a break, because like I said, it goes on out there all hours of the day and night, and it's very unfortunate, and it's causing a lot of trouble for those residents. So we did make some adjustments to that area, and we'll continue to make some improvements to try to alleviate and give those people a break. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, we put some big boulders in front of some of the
We did.
entrances and that,
Yeah.
hoping that at least if the police go there, they'll be able to pin them in, you know? But there's big 15, 20, 25 getting together all with bikes and that and just using it as a drag strip, right? Okay, any other comments on the last set of minutes? Councillor Dwyer.
Thank you, Mayor. Just with respect to the correspondence from 336 Granville Heights, I visited the residents. I spoke several times to the residents and certainly empathize with them. You know, anyone who is living on Granville Heights and purchased property on Granville Heights a lot of times did so because they had a green belt on the back of them. And obviously, this development, in their words, is difficult, devastating for them. And I certainly empathize with that. And which is why we asked to investigate any options in terms of mitigating anything that could be done in terms of where that road is and how it's going to impact the residents there. And thank you, Darren, for the work that you did with you and Nelson with the developers. And we were able to come up with several options, and I think we're going to employ them all in this case and hopefully mitigate the situation for the residents. Nothing is going to alleviate the issue, and unfortunately that is a part of development, which we all recognize and acknowledge that we need in the town, but in this case it is difficult for that resident for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and, you know, I think we all have heard collectively or individually from those, that resident and residents, and we all empathize, I'm sure. You know, if any of us were to live there, I'm sure we'd feel the same way, especially having a property where you do have that serenity in that. But as Councillor Dwyer said, there's development that needs to take place. We've talked about it all the time, and in this case, there's 220 units, and that could be all different kinds, style of housing going in on that vacant land. We've always known that we were going to use the land behind Grenfell Heights, and that's why along Grenfell Heights and in other areas there are right-of-ways there that's town-owned land left there purposely for future access. And as Councillor Dwyer said, we did ask staff, is there any other options here, you know? But unfortunately, the other options just move the issue to someone else who is likely going to have the same issues for the same reasons. And again, you can appreciate it, but it's something that we have been dealing with a lot when it comes to development, and everybody is in favor of development. They recognize the need for it, but they don't want it next to them. And I get it, but as council, we have to push forward, and unfortunately, there are impacts of this kind of development. But, as you said, we're talking about fence that would be erected and maintained by the developer and ultimately probably us once the property is turned over. There is trees that are going to be planted to have an extra buffer between the house and the road. There's a tree buffer on the back side of the property as well. I don't know how wide it is, but it's, you know, it's fairly wide, more than normal. And outside of that, really, there's not a whole lot that that can be done, unfortunately, because you know how these residents are feeling, and we get it. But it has to happen, and in this case, there's no more feasible, practical, or real options to explore. Any other comments on that or anything else? Okay, we're going to move her in a seconder. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Okay, we do have some resolutions. There are 4 resolutions there. Just one? Oh, we incorporated the other 3, okay, so there's just one. So did you want to take care of that, Deputy Mayor, in light of Councillor Cody's struggles this evening?
Sure.
We'll give her a break.
Resolution GFW 2024-399, Multi-Year Capital Works Program. Whereas the town of Grand Falls, Windsor qualifies for funding under the Provincial Multi-Year Capital Works Program. Whereas all projects and funding allocation under these agreements must be approved through the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. And whereas the town of Grand Falls, Windsor has a funding shortfall of $6,690.37 in the multi-year capital works funded project number 17, MYCW-25-00093 for paving and walking trail in Church Road Park. Therefore, be resolved that the town of Grand Falls, Windsor agrees to award the tender to Penny Paving Limited in the amount of $93,657.72 and recover any shortfall under the municipal operational cost or through a Schedule A adjustment within the multi-year capital works 2023 to 2026 funding. And I propose this resolution, Mayor.
Okay, it's been proposed by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Hiscock. Any discussion on the resolution? The only thing I'll say about it is that we did discuss this as well, and we know that our park is very well utilized. You know, we have free concerts in the park there every Friday, but a lot of people enjoy it on a regular basis, and this is a priority for council. We do have a paving company that has other work, so we're trying to get them to push this as a priority so it can be done as soon as possible. I just want everybody to know that. Okay, any other commentary? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Resolution passed. Okay, any notice of motion? No notice of motion. We will move into other business. According to my notes, and I could be wrong, so tell me if I am, Deputy Mayor, you're up first.
Okay.
Councillor Dwyer was up first in our July meeting.
Thank you. Just a few notes there. Labor Day is coming up. The Labor Day Committee has been meeting on a regular basis. The chairperson again this year is Ron Smith. And Glenn Freddie Barker is our parade marshal again this year. Historically has done it for many, many years. And the patron of the Labor Day parade this year is Joe Tremlett, former worker and union advocate, and well deserved to receive that honor. Just to remind everybody, Labor Day, the parade forms on Main Street at 10 o'clock and proceeds to High Street, where there'll be some speeches. The mayor will be there and some other provincial and federal politicians. After that, we'll award the winners of the bike contest, which is starting to become a bigger hit every year. We had a lot of bikes in the contest last year, and we expect more this year. And then there'll be free hot dogs and hamburgers for all hands who want to stick around, and some entertainment downtown. Then the celebrations will move to Church Road Park at 2 o'clock, where the town has entertainment and the bouncy castles for the kids. And so a great day of Labor Day activities, and we encourage everybody to participate in the parade however they want to. But I guess the main concern of the community is we get some floats in the parade. So hopefully we'll see some extra floats this year. The number of floats have been increasing over the years, and we're encouraged by the number of people who say they were putting in floats this year, but you can't have enough. And so I encourage everybody in Grand Falls, Windsor to take part in some of the Labor Day celebrations, which run from 9 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the evening, and to check our social media page for the more particular details. We had the car show this past weekend on Church Road, and I'll tell you, I've never anticipated the number of people who were attracted to that car show. But hundreds and hundreds of people from the time it started to the time it ended. There was a steady build, quite a number of classic cars, some dandies. The Mayor's Award went to a 1961 Chevy, a gentleman from PEI, and there was a line-up by his car all day for people to get their picture taken in the car, so that's how attractive the car was. And many, many other attractions as well. I mean, a number of cars could have won that award. And I look at Councillor Noel, because I know I saw you up there, but it was just a fantastic, fantastic event. Like I said, and the town did a fantastic job. Mr. Mercer, your department, and put a significant amount of work into that day. But all worthwhile with the number of people that attended, not just from Grand Falls-Windsor, but all the central and western Newfoundland, and it was just something. So a great day to have the car show, and certainly we'll discuss making that an annual event. I think we should, with the number of people. Certainly one of our best attended events this summer was the car show.
Awesome.
And finally, Mr. Mayor, the Special Olympics had a great day Saturday at Shannon Centennial Field for their bocce tournament. And teams in from Bonavista and Gander and Clarenville and others. They asked me to pass along to Mr. Mercer how pleased they were with the field and the way it was groomed for this particular event. And to see all the different colours and the team colours there, and it must have been about 100 athletes there, I suppose, and another 30 to 40 volunteers. And just a great day. So congratulations to the local Special Olympics group, and Colleen Ryan heads that up, and to her and her committee, and the number of volunteers that showed up from Grand Falls-Windsor and surrounding areas to ensure that the Special Olympians had a great day on Saturday. I can promise you it was.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
No, thank you. Unfortunately, I was out of town and missed all the excitement there. Not only the bocce tournament, which I've been an official in the past, despite having never played it, and the car show, as you said, annual event for sure. Just a lot of people talking about it, and maybe we need to expand the surroundings to make it a bigger, more people move around, that kind of thing. So it's great to see, and as usual, our people in town do come out in droves for things like that. Councillor Cody. Last time tonight.
I'm going to pass for tonight. I've disrupted the meeting enough tonight. I'm going to excuse myself for the rest of the meeting. But thanks for entertaining me tonight. And if anybody has any home remedies for the 100-day cough, please feel free to email them. I'll try anything at this point to get rid of this. So I'll just step out so as I don't disrupt any further, and I'll join you after the meeting.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Councillor Cody. And get well soon. Councillor Noel.
Thank you, Mayor. Couple of items. This weekend coming up, we have a Rib Fest, a ATV, UTV ride with ribs. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday there's ribs. Thanks you again to the director and his department for being innovative and trying to create new events for people here in town, and inviting people from all over the island to come in and participate. Hopefully the weather continues. We've had such a tremendous amount of fabulous hot sunny weather, even though we'd like to have a little rain Friday night just to keep the dust down. Talk to Mother Nature on that, but inviting everybody in, and I'm looking forward to it. Once can sit down and have a pile of ribs and a ride and enjoy a great day. So inviting everybody else in for that. Looking forward to it immensely.
I believe, if I could interrupt you for a second, that the field is free admission to get in on the field, but the ribs, obviously, and the food is... Lots of free things going on there on the field. No admission. If you want to purchase food and that, bring along some money. Sorry about that.
I mean, no, and good point, because the ribs meals themselves are at a cost, but I mean, there's lots of other events on the go to invite the whole family, your friends, in-laws, and outlaws. Come on down to Shannon Park Field on Saturday. I mean, teddy bears, hidden teddy bears. There's all sorts of things for all different age groups happening over the Rib Fest weekend. Thanks for reminding me of that. We discussed it earlier, but I had it in here for other business, but the kayakers and, again, being innovative, being the first to do something. Grand Falls-Windsor always seems to be, on the cutting edge of what people would like. And thanks again to the director and the department of installing a kayak launch in the Exploits River. I mean, I've been an advocate of this for a while. We have such a fabulous river, and we need to exploit the exploits. Yeah, being a bit lame there, but I took time to drive down the other evening. I was there, and was a pile of people here, and there was a buzz, there was enthusiasm. And so I went down the next day, and out in the river, well, there was a dozen kayakers. And they were all enjoying the sunshine, bopping around, taking pictures, and people were talking. Something new, something innovative. Thanks again. I just look forward to, making that facility even better in the future. And, some of the people who use the river for salmon fishing, et cetera, might see this as an opportunity to guide people with different ability challenges going forward, which would put us, again, first in Atlantic Canada as an opportunity to go salmon fishing if you have, ability challenges. So, again, thank you, Director, for the work done in that regard.
If I could interrupt you again,
Oh, absolutely.
the kayak launch, once it's completely done, will be fully accessible.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if you mentioned that or not, but it will
No.
allow people in wheelchairs and people with disabilities to be able to use it as well, which is
That's-
fantastic.
The plan is to make it fully accessible. And, again, the only place in Eastern Canada, as far as I know, you can correct me if, pardon? The only one in Newfoundland.
That's
right?
Eastern Canada.
Right?
That's Eastern Canada.
Oh, yeah. Well, we say Atlantic provinces, but we digress. But, just an opportunity. I mean, you got to see the opportunity that we have in the river there, for growth and tourism, and to bring some people to Grand Falls-Windsor who would otherwise may have just traveled on Trans-Canada. But, we get some signage out there and let people know what we have. So we have to really, really advertise the opportunity here on the exploits, and look forward to perhaps a few other opportunities for access to the river in the near future. I was going to talk a little about jaywalkers, actually. 'Cause again, talking about the dirt bikers, I almost got one of those turned into my home on Gravel Heights, and my son was with me, and I was in Cromer Avenue at the stop sign there. I was heading down Cromer Avenue. I wanted to turn left onto Pinson Drive, and my son was screaming, "Dad, Dad, 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 Dad." I was hoping he'd say what I was about to do, but I was about to take a left-hand turn. But there's two young girls who were crossing the crosswalk when they shouldn't have been. There was a van that had come across, and and I was about to go. And I'm usually just a little perhaps heavy on the gas pedal, but these two young ladies, completely oblivious, on the cell phones, walking across the crosswalk, not supposed to be there. Hand was up. And, if Ryan hadn't have said something, well, maybe I would have had more. I just don't want to be a magnet for, hitting people with a pickup. But, it's just the close calls. And so I ask again, moms and dads, talk to your kids. These are some stuff that, always beat into us as kids. Walk on this side, ride on that side, and do this and look both ways. But the kids on the cell phones are completely oblivious, I think, and they're just texting. There's 1,001 TikTok videos of them walking into light poles and everything else, and I wouldn't want them walking with traffic and get rode off needlessly. So I wanted to bring that up to parents out there crying out loud. School's going to be back in a couple weeks' time. Talk to your kid about walking sensibly.
Yep.
Right.
And we've got those crosswalk lights and that for purpose. Press the buttons, right?
They think that they're on the sidewalk and they're invincible. There's a force field around them. No, still vehicles are still moving in different directions. They got to have some wherewithal, but I think a lot of that's lost on the younger crowd today, and I can speak from the high school experience. But anyway, just wanted to bring that up as a little safety reminder at that time. Thanks, Mayor.
And it reminds me, I'm not sure if we mentioned it earlier, in the minutes, we talked about Scott Avenue crosswalk. That is going to be going ahead. So there will be, for the residents down there, I don't think it was clear, that will be going ahead. We just have to wait on the equipment and everything now that we have to order. So as soon as we can get that in place, it'll be in place. Councillor Hiscock.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of items. Just wanted to say that, since our last meeting here, the town of Grand Falls-Windsor have been extremely busy with all the different events going on. And I'd just like to say that the number of people that have come up to me and just said, wow, I can't believe that this town is doing so much. For all ages, from the little ones right to the seniors. All the different events that are going on. Of course, our concert in the park is a major hit. And just like to say a big thank you to Mr. Mercer and his staff, our special event staff, for all the great work that they're doing for all these special events. Also, just like to let people know that we have a senior wellness event coming up again on Tuesday, September the 24th at the Joel Byrne from 10 to 2. Last year, it went over big time. And this year is going to be even bigger and better again. So just like to let the people know, just put that in their calendars, that this event is up and coming. Also, Mayor, I'd just like to say, we're talking about the Red Fest. Last year I went on the ride. It was in June and it was cold. It was cold. It was about like 6 or 8 degrees or something. It was cold, right? Yeah, this year, I'd like to tell people, this weekend the weather is going to be in our favor. It's going to be nice. Oh yeah, I got a jinx now, right? Sorry. But no, it's a great event. It's a chance to meet some people on the trail. It's a good ride. So if you're available type thing, take it in. You won't regret it. Take it in. It's going to be a great day. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
For sure. Thank you, Councillor Hiscock. Councillor Little.
Thank you, Mayor. One thing I'd like to bring up is some vandalism around town. We're seeing a little bit of increase in that. We've been told about some vandalism on our Sutherland Drive playground. I went down myself and noticed the lock was cut off the back gate, and I couldn't see the hole, but apparently there's a hole. There was a hole in the fence. I don't know if it's fixed yet. People might not be aware that when parents bring kids to these playgrounds and they see a fence, they assume their kid can go in the playground. So when there's an unexpected hole in the fence, sometimes the kid could get away and sneak out into traffic without the parent knowing. So it's important that people, respect our facilities, respect our playgrounds, and try to keep them in good shape, because it'd be an awful thing if someone got hurt. And I know sometimes the vandalism is done by young people, but I don't know many 12-year-olds that buy wire cutters, so they're getting a wire cutter somewhere. So if parents can, be aware of what the kids are doing, and if they suspect their kid might be up that sort of behavior, they might want to have a conversation with them, because if they are caught, the town will do what's necessary to make sure it doesn't happen again. Besides that, I don't think we've had a meeting since Salmon Festival, have we?
No?
No, we haven't. So Salmon Festival, I went to many events this year. It was really good. Some weren't as well attended as events in past years. And, we're going to be looking at Salmon Fest in the coming weeks to come up with some ideas. And I know our director has some ideas of things we can improve, maybe do differently to get people re-interested in some of the things they've been going to for, 30 years or so. So it's very exciting. But, Salmon Fest is still a very positive event, I think. Many people in town have expressed that they're happy with the way it is, generally, the community-oriented event, and look forward to seeing more of it in the future.
Yeah, thank you. And I guess, like anything, as time goes on, we just want to tinker and adjust here and there. And I think people may expect a little bit of that in the next year or two. But community event, I'm sure it will remain. And we're open to ideas as well. And just wanted to mention again on your comment about the vandalism, same thing goes, like we need the public to help. We need it reported. We need it recorded if you can. We need, if you see people who are in the process of doing that, then call the MEOs, call the RCMP. I know people say, I'm not going to call the RCMP, and again, I see where they're coming from, but you need to know that when we go lobbying for more policing that we need in the region, it's the statistics that make the difference. And if we had everybody call when there was an issue like that, or any issue that they may choose not to, our statistics would be pretty high, and when resources are available, we'd have a better chance of getting them. So it's really that important. I know sometimes you're not going to get your chainsaw back, or you might not find who spray painted your slide or whatever, but it's still important to report if you see and if you know of anybody. Councillor Dwyer.
Thank you, Mayor. A few things. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Liam Gibbons. He is the Special Olympian of the Year this year.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's an exceptional athlete.
And excitable.
Wicket bowler. You could learn a lot from Liam Gibbons, Deputy Mayor. Yeah. Yes, he's multi-talented. Awesome news. I'd like to thank Canvas for the work that they did on the murals in Church Road Park. Wow, beautiful job. And it was nice to see the progress as they were working on them. Excellent. Scott Sims recently held his theater camp for youth, and I understand that went over exceptionally well. So congratulations to them. They had a little recital thing on Saturday, and I saw a couple of video clips from that, and it looked really fun. Good to see some youth developing for future musicals and music festivals and stuff like that. So I'm sure everyone that I spoke to really enjoyed it, so that's awesome. I've had a couple of calls recently as today, about dogs who are untethered and concerns that residents have, not only for the dogs who are untethered, but for people who are walking dogs that are on leashes, and for people who are concerned because they're afraid of dogs. Even as a dog owner, if you think your dog is not going to do anything, doesn't necessarily mean that they're not, or that the person's dog who is on a leash won't react negatively to the dog that's approaching them. We have municipal bylaws for that, and so I'd just like to encourage all dog owners to keep their dogs on leashes at all times, because it is dangerous. Another thing that I have written here is last month, prominent resident Carol Baird passed away, and sincere condolences to her family. It was no surprise that in lieu of flowers, they were accepting donations for the SPCA. Carol was one of the founding members of the SPCA here in Grand Falls-Windsor, and she's going to be missed by many, especially her card club. So that I have to speak to it. And I know it's the long meeting, but I want to just explain something. The meeting that took place in, I looked over, I usually arrive at council chambers a couple hours before our meeting. I rarely get out of my seat, but I looked over and there was a youth sitting over in the corner with her mom. I think it was like violence prevention. We're coming here to, after a proclamation. And I saw her there, and I was happy to see her because I hadn't seen her since the music festival. So I got up out of my chair and went over and gave her a hug. And on the way back, one of the members that we referred to earlier in the gallery told me to take off my hat. Normally, I probably would, but I was thinking about that girl and how difficult it has been for me to start a youth council, because I don't really want to subject youth to some of the things that we've been subjected to here. That's the truth. And so when I responded to him, I said, I don't have to, because I wasn't breaking policy, and I'm sick of being intimidated and harassed sometimes. Thank you.
No, thank you, Councillor Dwyer. Well said. And our meeting's not being long enough is one of the things we get criticized for. So we're doing all right tonight. And you know, when it comes to the thank yous that want to go around, and this all kind of comes together tonight, I just want to thank, well, before I do that, I got one thing to say. I'm not going to be long at all. I've said enough. But, and to the people who are out there watching tonight, you know, apologies. But as you could tell, it's important that we talk about that particular issue, because it is something that has been excessive, as you know. But today is August the 20th, 2024. And on August the 20th, 1944, Mr. Bill Leahy was born. And Bill sadly passed away about 6 years ago now, but he would have been 80 today. And he was a really close friend of mine, and many people would have known Bill from his work in the mill as HR, one of the HR directors. He also worked at Corduroy Brook after his retirement because he loved to help the youth of the town. And today is his 80th birthday, and I just wanted to say happy birthday to Bill up there somewhere. And many people I know Bill from his community service, his Rotary work, and his festival work, and all the things he was involved in. So I just want to thank everybody, thank council, thank staff, thank Rogers, who are always here and help us out to get their meetings out and do a great job. And I want to thank the residents. You know, there's a lot of talk tonight about negativity, and we choose not to talk about that when we can, which is most times. And I want to say, and I tell people this all the time, because people will come up to me, and I'm sure other councillors get this, they say, oh, I don't know how you do it. I don't know, this one. I said, well, for one thing, I stay off of Facebook, so I don't know what's being said. That probably helps, unless someone sends me a screenshot. But secondly, there's so many positive people. There are so many positive people in this town, and care and kind and helpful people, and people who are quick to say thanks for what you do, and whether we deserve it or not, and to say we appreciate everything that you go through. We know it's not easy. We're happy with the services. Way more people say that than people come up and be negative. And I think it's important to point that out, because those people tend to keep to themselves, enjoy their lives, don't stir up any trouble, and they enjoy a good quality of life here in Grand Falls-Windsor, and some for a long, long time. So I just wanted to end with that. And with that, I will call for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Dwyer, seconded by Councillor Little. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. See you next time.